The 10th Amendment was sort of taken to be implicit in the Constitution even before it was included with the Bill of Rights. And it simply means that the federal government has only the powers that are delegated to it, and the states and the people retain the remainder. And if you look at the state ratifying conventions where the states decided whether or not to ratify the Constitution, there you see that one after the other, they were being assured that even without the 10th Amendment, the Constitution as drafted already implicitly contained this idea.
I sued the federal government based on the 10th Amendment, and probably the only sheriff in history to ever sue the federal government as a standing sheriff and win a case at the U.S. Supreme Court. And it was all based on the 10th Amendment, state sovereignty. And basically what our case proved is that the federal government is not our boss.
The 9th and 10th Amendment together give us a good guide to constitutional interpretation. The 9th Amendment says that, just because a right is listed in the Bill of Rights does not mean we don't also have other rights. I want to make clear that this is not some kind of a grant of rights. And the Bill of Rights just protects rights that already existed. But they thought that was the most important because in their recent experience under the abuse of king and parliament, they had denial of jury trial, violation of property rights, warrantless searches, the writs of assistance, without probable cause being given to a judge. So they had experienced gun confiscation. All those things they experienced, the whole point of the Bill of Rights was to prevent that from happening again. And they didn't trust the arguments of the Federalists were that no Bill of Rights was necessary because the new Constitution, the new government created by the Constitution was so weak that it couldn't possibly trample on the rights of the people. That was Hamilton's argument. And the response to that was, we're not going to trust that limited, enumerated, granted power to be enough. We want to have extra guarantees. That's the point of the Bill of Rights. And Hamilton also argued that, well, if you enumerate certain rights, that will make it seem as though other rights are not retained. Another argument they gave against the Bill of Rights. That's why the 9th Amendment is there. Say, just because we list these things we think are really important doesn't mean that other things don't exist, other rights. Our rights are as innumerable as the stars or as grains of sand on the beach.
The states, with the 10th Amendment, were supposed to balance out the onerous activities and laws of a federal government gone wild. And so the 10th Amendment is very important in that regard to start to bring back the balance between the states and the federal government.
In America, we've got a constitution, and the entire constitution is just completely saturated with these principles of state sovereignty. Article 1, Section 3, Article 1, Section 8, Article 2, Section 2, Article 4, Article 5, the 9th Amendment, the 10th Amendment, all this has to deal with state sovereignty, making sure that the federal government stays extremely limited so that way we as individual citizens can have the most influence over local government so that way we can protect our rights. We don't have to rely on Washington, D.C. to protect our rights if they would just follow the Constitution.
I think of the 10th Amendment now, it's a relic of our failure. And future historians will look back and they'll see all the things that contributed to the demise of American prosperity, and they will say, but all they had to do was follow the 10th Amendment.